Hello, everybody. Hi, Chris. Pay attention, jeez. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Headspace Podcast, where we're going to talk about a project. This time it's going to be Tana Talk 3 by B.E.N.N.Y the Butcher. We're going to do the album review and all of that goodness. My name is HSR, and joining me today is
Chris Chrome.
That's right. So for those of you new here, you can get our little intro bit. For those of you who want to skip it, you can check in the description of the video when it actually starts. Basically, we's a couple of dudes who like to listen to the albums, go through them track by track, stay up to date with what's fresh and popping and new projects dropping, and talk about them track by track, give our thoughts and opinions so that you can get an idea of what the whole thing is as a whole. And yeah, we're just regular folk with regular opinions trying to understand the grander scheme of hip-hop in its beauty and all elements of it, from the fluffier pop side to the grimy and real. So that's what we do here. And anyway, we care a lot about the comments, so feel free to leave your thoughts along the way about anything that you think. You want to educate us, like maybe explain what Tana is, because I couldn't figure it out on the internet. And then, like, tell us in the comments, whatever you want. And to show that we are serious, we like to read our favorite comment from last week's video, which was, I believe, on the Black Eyed Peas' new project that
Masters of the Sun, Volume 1.
And on that comment, we had the homeboy DJ Dream Big, who will probably soon join us on this podcast.
What's up?
Because that's how it works. If you talk to us, you might end up reviewing with us. Woot! Chris will set that up. Anyway, DJ Dream Big, Will.I.Am saved the album. It's true. Will.I.Am had some pretty great lines. It was cool. Nas, slow getting me back as a fan, because after the Kanye West album, can't believe Nas album is this trash. I don't agree. I kind of liked it. But whatever. What do you think about the Nas album with Kanye?
Nazir.
Feature on the Swizz album, okay, this wasn't Nas, it was Ye. It's possible because of how Pusha T described the process was you gave Ye the verses and Ye gave you back a track.
Hold up. So we're talking about Echo from Swizz Beatz Poison, right?
Yeah, that would be where he starts to see the brilliance of it and realized it was Kanye West's creative choices that made the album come out the way it is. Okay. I don't know if Nas wanted the entire beat to be the cop shot the kid, the cop shot the kid. I don't know. I like the album, though. I thought it was a cool thing. Anyway, question, why Fergie leave? I believe Fergie leave because some drama, some diva drama. And I don't know. You guys can let us know. I didn't look too much into it. I didn't care that much why Fergie left. No offense. I just remember hearing that there was some drama.
Well, she had her solo projects.
Yeah.
They had their little fallout, and then she went off and did her solo projects. And then, to my knowledge, it kind of, or at least my own personal experience, it kind of looked like the Black Eyed Peas and Fergie kind of fell off, and then Will.I.Am slowly, for what I saw, kind of was just working with a lot of hip hop artists and stuff.
The way I saw it is, by the end of it, it was the Will.I.Am and Fergie show, and the other two were very much backburnered, and I could see how fundamentally there might be some internal drama just on how things had turned out for them. It wasn't really an equal distribution of anything. But then Fergie left, and then they featured The World, and then this album came, and this album was freaking good. So you should check out the Black Eyed Peas project, but that's not really what we're here to talk about. Before we do that, special thanks to the patrons, Ismail Gadamsi, Super Old School 1994, Chris Prado, and Lindell Williams. All right, Chris, let's get into it. Why don't you reintroduce the album that we'll be talking about today?
Well, for episode 103 of the Headspace Podcast review, we went with B.E.N.N.Y the Butcher, Tana Talk 3. And I think Tana might be short for Montana, just given
But they're from Buffalo, New York?
Right, but given the content, a lot of the content on this album and the songs and what a lot of the lyrics have in the content of the album.
Tony Montana,
Tana Talk.
Okay.
Maybe that's kind of just what I thought. Let me know in the comments if I'm right or wrong.
That's a cool thing. I'm not creative like that.
When did you bump into B.E.N.N.Y?
All right, so what happened was Bonnie did a lyrical breakdown for a Westside Gunn track that I believe featured B.E.N.N.Y the Butcher and Conway. Westside Gunn is with the Griselda Squad, but is also, I believe, signed to Shady Records. And so they did that, and then I was like, B.E.N.N.Y the Butcher sounds good. And then I saw this project was coming out, and I'll be honest, there wasn't a lot of new projects coming out this week, so I went and checked the studio stuff. I go to the mixtapes when there's not a lot of studio stuff coming out, and this was out, and I listened to the Joe Pesci 38 single, and I was like, this is really fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to hear the rest of it because at the time we was like listening to a lot of Mobb Deep, and I don't know, the same thing that I found appealing in Mobb Deep, I found appealing in that song. We can get into that as we get into the review, but it kind of hit me on that same Grammy Reel place, and I wanted to hear more. So that's how it happened. And then he hearted one of my tweets, and like, I'm a sucker for that shit. If you heart my tweets and let me know that I can tweet you and you'll like react to it, it just makes me want to talk about you more. You know, like that interaction, that human element, not like Benny the Butcher, some foreign butcher. He's a butcher we can talk to, which is important because butchers are good people. I get the context of what he's saying, but I was just thinking about how good butchers are for a local community. I digress. I don't have a lot more to say about him. I just kind of had that to go on and jumped in blind. So here we are. He's from Buffalo, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, Buffalo, New
And
York.
Griselda is the squad. And that's about all I know. So what about you?
I found out about Benny this week when you hit me up on Facebook and you're like, this is what we're doing.
Awesome. What do you think about that cover and that title?
I think it's cool. It slightly reminded me of, like, very quickly of the art style on T.I.'s Paper Trail. That type of, like,
Okay.
paper mache looking type art style a little bit. So that was really cool. I assumed it was because it's a kid on the front of the front of the
There's like
thing.
a split face or something. Like there's something like a division in his face, and it looks a little bit different. I don't really understand the cover out of the significance of it. Maybe it's just the lighting.
I think that it's him, like as a kid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, absolutely. That's what I believe because of my limited knowledge. I'm left to speculate that this is him as a kid.
Right. I think I also kind of get this sense of like we're gonna get a little bit of his history, a little bit like kind of his upgrowing, his childhood, kind of like what things may have been like around when he may have been like this young and coming up to the guy he is now.
I don't know why, but like I guess maybe because of the other kid covers like Nas, Biggie, Lil Wayne. You get the sense that this is gonna be personal.
Mm-hmm.
This is gonna be down to his soul, some truth, and that's what I kind of took from it. So I really kind of dug it as an inviting cover to make me want to listen to it. But it's cool. I don't have a lot more to say about that. I'd rather get into the music if you're okay with that, and we can do the intro babs.
You to flow simply, just like Coke. To keep your nose dripping on low bricks.
My first like real commentary is for this project is Benny is an extremely consistent rapper, meaning that kind of what we're gonna get here is a good sample of what the rest of the project is gonna be lyrically, in terms of even stylistically, the style of beats that are going to be used.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying this in like a negative kind of way. I'm saying this that from a review perspective, I might be like a lot quicker on later songs because I don't want to just repeat ourselves the whole time because a lot of it is equal praise I plan on giving throughout pretty much the whole project. Yes, right. I really fucking like this shit. I remember a younger me might have listened to this and been like, yeah, it's just drug dealer music and be like a fucking moron or some shit. But like, there's something to the way that he delivers his lines, in my opinion, that just breathes authenticity and passion.
It's
right?
like I got the same feeling. It's kind of like it's kind of like what we're doing, but behind a beat, on top of a beat. And it's like he's...
What do you mean by that?
So, you know how there's like slam poetry and there's like talking and all that stuff? I feel like he's having he's kind of rapping from a perspective that he's having a conversation with you and it's just explaining to you kind of who he was on whatever. He's like answering a question in a sense. I don't feel like he's like really in there rapping like even though he could. I'm saying like I'm getting this feeling like he's nonchalantly just expressing himself and this is what we used to do back then. Da-na-na-na-na with friends. You know, like he's still rhyming, but it doesn't have that like...
So I feel like I get where you're trying to come from. I'm gonna put it, in my opinion, it's more like he's kind of giving us a stream of consciousness experience. Like
right.
he gets in and these are the things he's thinking about, and he's just kind of giving us the actual raw, unfiltered thoughts of an individual in this position in his life. Some lines reflect back on the past where what he was doing. Some parts kind of question where he's at and what he's doing with some commentary on others and such. And I thought it was just interesting. But the way he delivers every line is like a fucking statement. Like, roll with me, come to my hood where no Benny. And there's like a little pause and he just stops. Hit bougie bitches with rich fathers like Nicole Richie. Just stops. Like there's these little pauses. Like every individual line that this guy's gonna say on this album is gonna pack some kind of a punch, and it's gonna be delivered with a swagger of excellence and like just a statement. Like it is. He says everything like it's undeniable truth because, and I believe that he goes out of his way to say things that are absolutely true so that the way he can deliver these lines are at least believably so. And when he obviously is going to dip into storytelling and, you know, flair his rap, but it doesn't come off like he's just talking some shit. Like, not to like take shots at the Migos, but cooking up dope with a Uzi is a bit of a ridiculous lyric. There's nothing like that on this project. And like, so yeah, that was just kind of like my main preface to where it might get a bit repetitive. Is so we're not maybe going to say that on every single fucking song. That's what I'm going to call the Benny thing because it's fucking dope. But I don't think it's so like I think you're right in that his tone comes off kind of conversational. But I don't want to take away from his timing and his impeccable delivery of flow. Like he's not just talking, he's just rapping with like this flair. Like you're almost in the room and he's like,
that's what I'm saying.
Sit down, son, I gotta spit some knowledge at you.
And that's exactly that I couldn't have said it any better. That's exactly my point. It is this feeling of not like rapping at you, but kind of like rapping with you. Like acknowledging that you're listening in a sense. Like he's trying to give you this message. He's trying to show you a different perspective, a different side, and not just trying to show off and flex, if you want to call it.
And what I think is truly amazing about how this album starts is, yo, I'm from a cold city. Westside, Guns, Conways, no biggies. So like right away, he's from Buffalo, his place, you know, repping the types of people he's around, the Conways, the Westside Guns, that's his squad, his people. Not biggies. We're not like these dudes. We are our own thing, doing our own thing in our own reality. And I like that they're not trying to claim like, yo, we're from them, we're from there, and or like ride on some. And they don't want to be like grouped into this. They're trying to establish like, or at least it feels like this is my story. You know, it's not like somebody else's story can compare to it. This is mine. And I really appreciated that like sentiment. Plus, this feels very hip hop to like keep it so close. It's almost like this is dedicated to where he's from, and like kind of reflecting on the environment he came from. But then how it almost transitioned to from having to do things like selling drugs to getting like royalty checks and shit. You know, like just how the dynamic has in fact changed for him through his authenticity and shit. And I really appreciated that. And then the beat. To me, this is a lot of my like grades are basically how much I like the beat because again, Benny's going to be very consistent. So I really enjoyed this one. I felt like it had this intoxicating vibe where you could just vibe along to that jazzy smoothness and it really just hooks you. And then Benny cuts it so harsh and blunt, but not in like a abrasive kind of way. And again, like how Chris was describing it earlier. And like it just flows on through. And then we have on the outro the little singy bit from Keisha Plum where it almost paints it like it's dark, but it's also got this beautiful poetry, this existence we have. And he wants to share like this beautiful poetry side of the dark reality. It's almost like the perfect introduction to this project, and it really does communicate the intent of the goal. It's about 2.5 minutes or whatever, but it's really great to listen to. Maybe it's 3, I don't know. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was totally really great, so I gave it a 4.5. It made me really excited for everything that was going to come, and it made me really want to listen to it.
Nice. I really like how in that little singing bit near the end, they're talking about like how things are kind of happening in the winter in New York. Like there's like piss stains on the snow. There's like kind of the environment's kind of changing to more like dark, gruesome, but I like how they're enforcing this idea of like, but the roses in the spring still come back. And again, like emphasizing that beauty that could still be there within like dark times. I also kind of got this sense of like, in like a weird way, I got this sense of like hope, like no matter what is going on, no matter what's happening, yeah, as long as like you can see that hope, you can see that like, we'll go with the word beauty again. Like everything is somewhat okay.
Oh, yeah, in a sense, it's like he's almost a testament of that.
Yep.
He's managed to do something with it, but he's not. I don't know. We'll get into more about him or what I feel about him at least later on.
Absolutely.
What'd you give it?
I gave the song a 4. Overall, I like it. I really do. I just think that I'm gonna have a really.
You don't have to like,
It's more just the sound of it.
right. And it's again, we're not. I want to make it clear that anything I don't know. He's a great rapper. Not everyone has to like the overall sound that's being produced.
Right.
Let's talk about how it's a good night.
Treat your bitch crib like a truck stop, way station, safe haven. If we trade places, that's
Yeah.
So yeah, this one starts off with that Busta Rhymes sample. Well, not starts off. It's the hook of this track. But I feel like it starts off in a similar tone. This one's a little bit of a grimier beat, or maybe a little less fun, less vibey. We're getting into a little bit more of what the album's gonna be, And again, it's just these one-liner type thought lines in the way he delivers it, and it's so tight. I can't like express enough how on point his technique is, and I think that's something that's a little bit underappreciated these days. Because like I've been trying to learn how to rap slow. It seems kind of dumb. Rapping fast I always found kind of easy because I talk fast, so it's easy to find that kind of a rhythm. But when you slow down, it's like all of a sudden there's all this space, and there's almost this beauty in the art of leaving these pauses the way that he does that's so eloquent. I don't have all the rhythms mapped up, but just it's stuff to look for when you're listening to this album to see how fucking brilliant his technique actually is. His timing is on point, bouncing off that beat in a way where it just engages you. It actually gets to a point where it's almost hard to listen to what he's saying because you're almost simultaneously vibing to the whole flow of this track, and you have to end up going back and re-listening a few times, which is not a problem because you're still vibing. Anyway, that was my experience going through this project.
Well, I feel like the pauses, and again, admire his technique. But I feel like his pauses give this emphasis of thinking back on what he just said. Like it forces you to. He says his statement, and then it forces you kind of reflect on it really quickly. Now, let's say the pauses last for like 3 seconds. Yeah, he goes into the next bar, which is why I think that like sometimes you have to kind of restart the song because he's kind of giving you that time to reflect on what he just said. It's like you're still, maybe you get onto like, at least for me. For me, it kept me kind of thinking.
I think it's almost part of that, though, is that instead of being completely vapid, like, look, there's a lot of drug dealer bars where it almost just sounds like guys rapping about drug dealing, which is fine. And I'm not trying to shit on that. But it doesn't sound like anything more. Whereas, like, yo, I sold it packed and I sold it back. We roll up in Scott, fold up gats with shoulder straps. I'm loving the rhyming and stuff. And maybe it's not overall like the most profound new thing, but he still kind of says it so bluntly. I sold it back and I sold it back. And I feel like instead of trying to be excessive with it, it comes off approachable and realistic, right? So he's not trying to be like, yo, I sold bricks on bricks on bricks on brick. Like, it's not that. It's, I did the thing, so I did the thing. It's business. It's just kind of happened. And he comes off with that tone. And I really appreciate that tone. And I think that's what makes him so believable. And so it makes the art like so much more powerful and relatable to actual experiences to me. There's a part that I really dug that he did later on where it's like, my shit the deepest, my shit for thinkers, reachers, the shit used simple, probably couldn't grip with tweezers. And right away, I feel that things, right? Because maybe it's just what I'm reading or what I'm feeling in life. But I think day in, day out, we grind over here. Like, we all put in a bunch of work on different things. At least the people I try to affiliate with, we're not, the life I'm trying to live, it's not one that's based on fun. It's about hard work. It might not be on the illicit side of things due to circumstances that allowed me to be in this place, but fundamentally there are a lot of parallels that you can see between people who approach it with like a wisdom, a growth, like means to an ends, but with a goal in mind type approach versus vapid. And vapid's everywhere. You look around at the people you work with, there are actual workers and there are vapid workers. They're just fluff people. And I feel like through wisdom, you can become a little bit discerning when you hear the words people choose to use to be able to like call the difference, So I'm saying this guy's not vapid. It's like just some authentic shit. And I feel like he's trying to convey that. he's dropping in lines like this. He wants you to know that this isn't just empty. Like, I want you to take that pause and think about it.
In terms of dropping lines, I mean, I took dope charges. I caught Fed cases. We did stick-ups when we was kids and bought PlayStations. Treat your bitch crib like a truck stop wait station. Save haven if we trade places. That's a vacation. Like,
yeah, I wanted to quote that too.
It's really the seriousness behind, and part of me feels like he's validating his life. He's validating who he is. He's validating his reputation. He's validating everything he probably stands for and whatnot.
Validating is not the word I would use. I don't think it's about validation. I mean, I think it's simply he's expressing himself. He wakes up in the morning and he gets in and he's, what's this song going to be about? And he just lets his mind go and he's letting you know. It's almost like, this is who I am. This is what made me who I am.
But I'm saying
maybe I guess that's validating. Maybe I'm wrong.
Let me just clarify what I want to say about validating. I don't mean like he has anything to prove. I don't think that he actually is like out here like, yeah, I'm the baddest motherfucker on the block. But I think that he is, and when I think I'm using the word validating wrong, but what I'm trying to say is he's proving that he's real. Again, without having something to prove, he's kind of making that emphasis that he's real. It's not.
I would say that he's not actually trying to do that. He comes off like that. Like, to me, he comes off like that. He's just spitting shit as he sees it, and it just ends up coming off real because he's focusing on factual statements. Like, I don't think there's a line in here where if you go and look at it, it's allegorical or it's metaphorical. I believe he did take packs and multiply them. He probably did get these things that happen. So, like, when it comes down to it, I think that's the difference. You're not hearing the melodramatic, like, just the allegorical fluff that, like, some people will put on their rhymes to, like, boost up an image.
Whatever, yeah.
Like, there's, I don't know where exactly it is, but there's parts where he's like, I know where I'm at in the game. I'm, like, one single before I pop. Like, when you look at it, it's like this self-awareness is so important, I think, to an artist to actually know, because it gives this humility. You don't feel this.
To speak about self-awareness, though, we watched our mothers cry, but that just made us risk our freedom.
Ooh,
like,
what a line.
That self-awareness of knowing, and that's just to expend. That's just really to extend your point, right? Like, he's so in depth and connected to what he sees around him and to what's really going on that he knows that, like, it seems like he's fighting for a bigger purpose. Like, he knows that he's about to go risk his freedom to do X, Y, Z, maybe sell drugs, run a lick or whatever. But his reasoning and his intentions behind it are family, his mother, his.
I mean, yeah, it's like, look, the circumstances are so shit. I see my mom crying because whatever happened. You can fill in the blanks, whoever has experienced it, but it's done in a way where it's so universal that I believe anyone who's gone through that kind of an experience can find that. Like, I know when I was 18, personally, my dad dipped out and my mom cried and shit, and it changed my life and got me on a path to, like, well, it took a few years to kick in, but when it did, it was like, I don't want my mom to ever have to have that problem. Like, if her husband dips, like, I want to know that my mom is set, you know? And it's not the same thing, but I feel that by, like, creating those kinds of parallels when listening to music that is so disconnected from the life you live, it can create a bigger empathy point.
Relatable in the terms of it's the mother aspect. It's the fact
we all have mothers.
Yeah, we all have a mother. We all want to make sure that they are held good. And if y'all have your own I'm not trying to say everybody's got a perfect relationship. If you have your own,
whatever.
You deal with your own.
Either way, let's move into the song again. I gave this a 4.3. As much as I love the verses, the chorus is okay. Like, at first time, I was like, that's cool. And then I was like, okay, I'm okay with the chorus. I like the beat, but not as much as the first one. And I gave it a 4.3. I think it's a good song, and it's just a little bit less enjoyable for me than the last one. But I still felt the same power and passion from Benny, and I do feel his performance is absolutely the same. Like, he's a great rapper. Anyway.
Well, I gave it a 4.2. I like the song. I actually think that the Busta Rhymes, I don't know if it's a Busta Rhymes sample or if it's actually just Benny, like, alternating his voice a little bit to kind of sound like it. But I feel like
maybe.
I like it because it also, so what I've started on, when I first got onto the first couple of tracks or the first song, I felt like there was a lot of boom bap old school type vibe to this. And then having that kind of referenced the Busta Rhymes album from back then, I feel like he's kind of also bringing back some old school typeness to hip hop. And I really like how he did that. I really like how he's kind of also like, look, I learned from maybe these guys or whatever. Maybe Busta inspired him. So that was something I found really cool. And yeah.
So in a sense, speaking of inspiration, what'd you give this one?
4.2.
So yeah, speaking of inspiration, Scarface versus Sosa Part 2.
Mad, I'm just glad to see y'all niggas was learning. Whole taught you how to move.
So I guess to follow up on the granular theme of this podcast, I think Benny the Butcher makes excellent music to grind to, because you get the sense that this guy is all about his grind. And it's not really maybe simply just about making money. It's not simply about anything. It's like a true man with a vision. He has a plan. He knows where he wants to go, and he's doing the things necessary to accomplish that goal. That's the kind of message and the overall feel I take off. So it just kind of like, you know, I feel like multiple musics have different kinds of moods that you're supposed to listen to. Like often we have to put on a lens, I think, when you actually sit down to review an album, because I mean the difference between a Black Eyed Peas album and a Benny the Butcher album is pretty fucking significant. But in this mode, whereas the Black Eyed Peas was going for more of a lovey, party, happy vibe, this is going for a gritty fucking reality vibe, which is the kind of shit I want to listen to when I'm doing my gritty fucking reality.
Question. What do you mean by put on a lens?
I mean, I can't look at this album, like the kind of mood that this album appeals to inside of me is like this grind, like this authentic, like this like fucking powerful, like when I want to feel like when I got to sit there and get shit done and I got to go out there and I want to feel like I'm not alone grinding, when I want to relate to other people who are also grinding and they're sharing their stories, and it inspires me to want to share my story. And when I see that truth out there, that there are still people that care about that, you know, that passion and shit. But at the same time, I also sometimes want to dance around my room bumping some Black Eyed Peas shit.
I get you. The reason why I asked was because I feel like putting on a lens is a little bit quite the problem in certain cases, because I feel like when you put on a lens, you're trying to see it from that person's point of view, right? And from that person's point of view, in a very simple way, is Benny is a drug dealer who ain't gonna fuck around and is gonna fuck you up if you cross lines, right? And I feel like when you put on that lens, it's kind of like you kind of roll with that, even if you're not part of that lifestyle.
I mean,
So,
I don't agree with you.
For me, I feel like I'm coming at it with my own lens of, we'll say, ignorance to the lifestyle, and I'm kind of taking it as like a journalistic perspective. Like, he's explaining to me, like,
I would say that I don't sell drugs, but I can relate to the struggles and the grinds and some very sincere parallels between.
absolutely.
And so what I'm trying to say is it's not about going, and this isn't just drug dealer music. This is grind music. Grind music to me transcends what you're doing, and it's for people on their grind. Maybe your grind is going to the fucking gym. This sounds like great music when you're trying to lift weights and shit at the gym. Just shit like, yo, Benny's pushing, Benny's trying, I gotta try too. If Benny can do it, I can do it. You know, it's that kind of music. And weirdly enough, I find it motivational in a sense, because this is a guy who's cool, calm, collected, sharing his wisdom and his thoughts and his experiences, and has gone from point A to point B. And I think that's why I'm saying he's the difference. So when I put on a lens, it's not like, oh, what is Benny the Butcher trying to say? I'm trying to look at a bigger picture of what kind of music is this? I mean, this isn't party music. I'm not here to party. I'm here to get shit done when I listen to this.
Right.
And then there's party music where, like, if you're listening to Lil Yachty and you're trying to compare it to this, it's an absolutely ridiculous comparison, in my opinion, because Lil Yachty is party music and this is not. You know, this is vibe music. This has a certain role to it. So, I mean, when I started listening to it, I put that lens on, because what am I going to do? Try to connect on a poetic level to the drug dealing side of things? Nah, I can't relate to that shit personally. But at the same time, I don't even have to. That's just almost the specifics. When I take a step back to what he's trying to do, I see the lens of he's trying to express his grind, his wisdom, his experience, be motivational to the people who get it, and be something else, like the difference. And then, you know, it might be grouped into a bunch of other shit, but to me, this stands out. It's a bit of a standout compared to the average guy who would be rapping on these kinds of topics. Anyway, that was a big tangent. I like this song, though, because it really, to me, is one of the more standout ones. Like, you know, I feel like, again, every line just kind of flows in through, and he has that kind of posh debonair lifestyle. Like, he's very kind of factual. Like, I just dipped half a brick in detergent so they don't sniff when they search in. He probably did that. It's probably something that's happened. Is what you're supposed to do. I don't actually know about that. But the way he says it, it's just blunt. It's exactly what happened. It's not some coded metaphor. It's like, I did that. Moving on. She take this trip. I might get her a Birkin. So the girl does whatever. She gets a watch. I think a Birkin's a watch. Or maybe it's slippers. Or maybe, I don't know what the fuck a Birkin is. But I know it's some fancy, expensive shit. I don't need to know more than that. But, like, it sounds like it's work. It's not like this is some hoe he's paying. It's like, yo, if she does what she needs to do, she gets paid. And, you know.
Just to, like, emphasize the work aspect, thought about leaving the game because ain't no love in it. They then reconsidered because fame ain't why I jumped in it. We like bougie bitches and they love villains, Scarface, everything relate back to drug dealing. Like, it actually, like, just even with that, to me, that sounds like work. He didn't come in to rap to be famous. He came in to make, like, a side hustle, to make money on that quick side, too.
And I really like the idea of how everything relates back to drug music on this track. Because if you...
Drug dealing, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. Because, like, I guess it's important for him, in a sense, because that's how his brain's going to work. Everything relates back to drug dealing. And if that's your reality and that's where you come from, even if you move into other ventures, you're still going to make them comparisons. It's like, I'll still kind of have my geeky project manager hat on anytime I approach anything because that's my reality. That's what I come from. So I love the fact that he's just being real with you. It's like, listen, it's not about what I'm doing now. It's just when I think about things, everything's always going to come back to this point because this is who I am, you know? And I really like that, you know? Like, everything relate back to drug dealing. You soft pay tax just to grub with us. Despite the war wounds and the drugs in us, the pretty bitches still fell in love with us, you know? And you got this sense of this is just who they are. They are this group of raw people who approached a certain thing. They did what they had to do, and everyone else just kind of conformed. And there's a difference now. This is what happened. And I just, again, love the whole feel of this track. I give it a 4.75. The beat's really great, and I thought it was really awesome, you know?
I gave the track a 4. I enjoy it. I found it was very consistent so far still. I think that it has a good vibe to it, but me, it's just overall, there's certain sounds that I don't really feel, so.
That's totally fine. Let's move on to the rubber bands and the weights.
Out the pot, rubber bands and weight. Dope fiends walking up the block, rubber bands and weight.
I don't like the beat on this one as much. I kind of found it like...
I like that eerie type of piano creepy feel he was trying to give. I like the fact that the piano keys were overpowering the drum, the boom bappy sound in the background. I felt like I didn't really feel a difference so far in that boom bap loop from the last couple of tracks. Maybe there was. I'm not too sure, but I didn't feel like there was. It kind of sounded like the same type of loop. So I was happy with the pianos in that. Just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, this just is the same style of things. There are definitely some shots that are taken towards the faker side of folk. I really appreciated when he's like, they talk tough talk, but they don't want issues. All they talk is gunplay, but they don't know no pistol. Sat down at a meeting, Manteca on the menu, but laser on the nickel, turn a hater to a Hindu. I thought that was really clever, right? Like, he's kind of pointing out, you know, I mean, it's not like it's anything profound. A lot of the rappers who rap about guns and shit probably don't own those guns and shit. You know, they probably aren't living that life. He is, and he's so serious, he'll, you know, put a red dot in the middle of your forehead, which is affiliated with the Hindu. So it's a pretty fucking clever line. It's not something. I also like, he's like, either dick riding or they paid for their credentials. I was young. The plug told me, just be patient. I'm going to hit you. Shit slow. Just work with me. Just take what I can give you. I took that double back and got greater. I continued. And that's kind of how it all kind of starts. People lack patience, and everybody kind of wants everything to happen super quickly. So even in this content world that we in, I look at like our literal number one objective of this group behind that suit is to slang content like dope. I shit you not. I have it written on the board over there.
Number one at the top.
Because I'm very inspired by the idea. If you put out 3 pieces of content, you get back to work at 3 pieces of content. If you put out 7, you get back the result of 7. If you play the game, you win. If you do the math and you do the things you need to do, then you get the results of what you're trying to go for. Right. And it all just kind of flows like that. So when he puts it down and just points out, like, this is the work we do,
Well,
Just,
he also does kind of mention, and it's in the chorus. It kind of flows like walking around with rubber bands and weights in the pockets and stuff, and then he kind of expresses how he's making 20 grand a day, that all his other chores can wait, any other problems, any other priorities can wait because he's so focused on that grind. I mean, when I hear that and I'm like, you're out here making 20 grand a day, the fuck am I doing? Like,
well,
granted, I ain't about that life, so
but no. At the
there's no
same
hope.
time,
But it's the work ethic.
But I would disagree with that. He's making 20 grand a day. How he's doing it is how he's doing it. How
Right,
can you make
absolutely.
20 grand a day?
But that's what I'm
I can
trying to
tell
say.
you one
Like,
thing.
it's just I'm not
If
part
you're
of that
making
life.
20 grand a day, there's a good chance that when 6 a.m. rolls up, if you're still making money, whatever you're doing, if it means editing a video, if it means finishing a song, if it means getting that presentation in for your boss, if you put in that extra grind, chances are over a decade you see the dividends, right?
Yep.
So I would say that the method and mechanism and specifics of what you do compared to what Benny does might be different.
Absolutely.
But I think that the sentiment of what he does is fucking ridiculous.
And I agree
And
100%
he
with
spit
the
in some
sentiment.
real shit. Like, it sounds like this dude read 48 Laws of Power and shit like that, or at least knows what it's about and applies, like, the real proper approaches to slow acquisition of wealth and power over time. And I appreciate that shit. It inspires me. Still, I wasn't quite into the beat. So as much as I love everything I love about the song, I give it a 4.25 because compared to the other ones, it's less good, but it's still like something it wouldn't be like I would skip it. I would still really like this song. I just like it less than the other ones. Like, this is a project where I can see myself going to in the next couple of weeks and just hitting play when I'm at work and working on Excel files and other bullshit.
I gave the song a 4. It was cool. I do like the passion that he has behind his focus on the grind, how he's, chasing that paper, making that money, and I agree with all of it. It's inspiring. It has this sense of like upliftingness when you hear like when you work hard, you do get big payouts like 20 grand. It's cool.
Anyway, let's move on then to Fast Eddie.
Top from the Jack Mac can, nigga. Fuck y'all niggas know.
I feel like the whole sentiment of what we just discussed in regards to how his specifics might not apply to my life, but a lot of the things he's talking about are relatable. Like, I don't regret the homies I cut off or the bitches I canceled. I mean, if I think about the last 10 years, I'm not fucking with the same people. There were things that changed. Sometimes they cut me off. Sometimes I cut them off. I can tell you one thing. At this point in my life, if I cut you off, I have zero regrets about it because that's just what it is. That's how you move forward. You shed the bad fruit and you stick with the branches of the tree that bring fruit. That was some Bible shit. Anyway, go on, Chris. How do you feel about this one? I feel like I've been talking a lot more than you on this podcast.
Well,
You have no idea.
I don't have much to say because he's very and we've said it, he's very consistent on a lot of the tracks. This song I kind of got like he's describing his mentality with guns and street life, like he's been doing, but I feel like there's this essence of like it changed him. Like it's not so much about the drugs he's selling or the fights. It's more about I kind of get this essence of like I became different because of my environment, because of my struggle, because of the things that I had to do. It changed me into something else that may or may not be a good thing. He seems to like it. That's great. I like the confidence that he portrays in taking the rap game in verse 2. There's a line that he's like, I'm going to come out and like take over the game. Now, I don't know if he's saying, I assume it was the rap game. I don't know if it was maybe just the drug game as well, but I do like how he has that like pride, that sense of that pride in his voice when he says it, and that confidence, and it really gives you that uplifting boost of like, when you really put your mind to it, you could do it no matter what it is. Like when you really focus, you got it. Yeah, I like the energy in the track, in his verses, the way he flows. Again, it's kind of like that nonchalant, I'm just saying what it is, being blunt, straightforward. If I'm not mistaken, he kind of does have a little bit of like a not a tricky flow, but he does kind of change it up a little bit. What I've noticed is that he doesn't have, or at least so far, I haven't really noticed many different flows yet. He kind of is consistent with like one of them that he has. But I think that also gives him his authenticity for who he is.
Well, I mean, what I've come to see is that tricky flows is cool, but if you go too fast, people don't hear what you're saying. And if you go too tricky, people aren't listening. And I think his priority is to make sure that you hear what he has to say and that what he has to say is just worth saying. I don't know. It kind of feels like this anecdotal sway, but when I hear him talk, what I hear is a chief executive officer or a chief operations officer. Maybe not the executive. I'm not really sure. But he sounds so operational. It's like, okay, these are the moving pieces that had to happen, and over here, this happens. So yeah, we had to go do that situation. These guns were involved. So when I went and bought that, he said, if I buy that gun, I get this gun also. And like, it's just like, it just sounds like a so pragmatic. It sounds so focused. And while, again, I don't know about that life, I do know what it's like to plan. And I do know what it's like to kind of think in this way of idea after idea flowing into it. And I feel like that's what I really love about him. I feel this guy's smart, and like I'd love to just have a conversation with him and see what the fuck he thinks about, like, I don't know, AI or some shit, and how AI would flip up the game. These are the things I'm curious about, like how drug empires would incorporate technology like machine learning to better track the clientele of their operations in order to, you know, better distribute and figure out who the fuck, like, you know, you can track, like, this guy you can clip a 0.1 off of, and this guy you have to give a little bit extra to, and to operationally optimize all profit. I just wonder, I would love to have that conversation with somebody. I don't want to do it myself. Feds, if you're watching,
business
like, I'm not
101.
really interested in setting up my own shit. I'm just to bosses and anybody, whatever. I'm interested in the science and the theory of it all. But I don't know. I feel like he'd be really good for that kind of a chit chat. Anyway, I really dug this one. I thought it was pretty fucking strong. It comes in, and I gave this a 4.3. Sorry. I'm wrong. I gave this a 4. I gave it a 4.3. I don't know why I got confused there. Sometimes I scroll my finger and I look at the wrong one.
I gave it a 4.
It's mostly the beat. I did want to comment a bit. I'm not the biggest fan of his hooks, but he's not the kind of rapper that like hooks are that important to. It's not like really a make or break on the song.
Fair.
But like it does serve as a bridge between the verses. I kind of like pop hooks more. That's just me. So poppier it is, the more I'm gonna like your hook. But like the verses are gritty and real. If they all fit the song and stuff, but fuck y'all know about that. That's why they sent me here. Street shit. Y'all forgot the butcher. Huh? I'm your reminder. I'm your consequence. Benny Griselda. I'm the last you wanna see. Trust me. I mean, it's basically like the bluntness. It's like the ferocity of him coming in. Like
You can get a sense of the intimidation as well. Like
it's like the character of like Benny. You just pick no, it's not the character, but you just picture him coming in. Benny's coming. You better hope he's on like you're on his good side. And if you're a rapper coming at him, he'll destroy you lyrically. And if you're on that other side of life, well, you don't fuck with him. And but I get the real point of this, like almost this butcher character. When I picture it, is like he's got this big ol' knife thing, butcher knife coming in, and he's just hacking up fake rappers. And he's so authentic that he butchers the fucking industry in terms of fake shit. Now, for people who like authenticity, I think that is just, that's what it is. And I don't know how much pop appeal that is these days, but I do think that one day we're going to see that this type of shit is going to get its pop appeal again. And I think Benny is really well positioned for that. So that's cool.
nice.
I don't know. I lost my train of thought on this one. We gave grades. It's all good. Good track. Let's talk about the broken bottles.
I in the mailbox. Nigga, y'all playing. I heard they sick about me rapping about the drugs I stretch.
There's a great line I'd like to just point out. These funny on parole. I was going in with 10. Cool. These funny hustlers out here owing more than they spend. She fuck with you, you buy a Chanel watch. She fly out to 12 blocks at Byron nail shop. And I really like that. And I think what he's saying is, you guys front like you have money, but really you're just putting it on credit cards. Which I admit, I don't have money. I push it on credit cards. I'm getting to a place where I'm stacking. It's going to take a long time. Got my plans. I know what's going on. But I'm not trying to front like I'm rich. But people do. Even though all they do is put like a $200 thing on a credit card. And it's not really, you don't have money. You have debt, which is owing. So it's a really cool line. And then he compares it to, you buy her that like nice bag or whatever, but I got wealth. I got real money. So I buy her a fucking nail salon. Oh, you want to come ride with me? Here's a business that you can operate and make me fucking money on. I love the difference. I like the way he's painting it. This one to me is a real, like, the beat's a real step up. I was really feeling this one. I don't know. I don't have a lot more to add in terms of novel shit. The lines.
I do.
Oh, I'm still talking.
Right.
Sheesh. I know that you do.
I'm excited.
I mean, in general, I feel like the lines are as consistent. I feel like it's just solid. Like, his delivery is equally solid, and overall, I'm gonna give this a 4.5. It's a very enjoyable song. Now what's your excitement? Let's do it, Chris.
Cause I like how he goes. Y'all like these rappers, but I don't find it amusing. No, I don't buy the move. I don't buy their movement, so I don't buy their music. I wrote Get Rich manuals where I provided the blueprint. I like how he's like taking command. He's taking that like
That's a clever
everybody's.
line.
Like you were saying, trying to stunt, faking it, credit cards, all that stuff. And he's just there like...
But that sounds like it's a nod to 50 and Jay-Z.
Jay-Z, yeah, Blueprint
Get Rich or
album.
Die Trying.
Yes, that's
I might
pretty
be
cool.
wrong, but that's like a clever fucking line. He's a good writer.
That's dope. But I also like how he's kind of like... I feel like he's kind of looking at these rappers like, y'all are stupid. I basically told you how to get rich and y'all ain't listening. Like, he kind of taking offense to that. So that was really cool that I found something interesting in. But I didn't like the beat. I didn't feel like the beat was actually...
Beat's fucking great.
It bored me. It
agree
didn't
with your
have the
opinion.
same type of flair that the other beats had. It I don't know. I don't think I had like that boom bap feel that was consistent throughout the tracks before. So it I don't know. It just felt really weird to me. I gave it a 3.8.
I like the beat. I don't know what Cal Chris is talking about. Anyway, there's still a whole bunch of songs left, so you could say it's like an echo long trip still left to do.
She was scared it was an AR with 50 in it, knew I was special, was born.
Westside Gunn has the coolest fucking voice. He reminds me of Action Bronson, but like realer. I don't know who came first or whatever. That's the voice that it kind of made me think of. Just the tone and the pitch and shit. It's cool though. I really, really think he made for an engaging and awesome fucking hook. Like, ayo, I had to cook my motherfucking dinner. I had to iron my clothes. CO bringing the phones in, stab him in the neck if he owes. You just see him like a Don and like praising, just getting everybody do everything for him. He's living like a king and shit. Just some like and then there's some ferocity, like stab him in the fucking neck. The CO, if he comes in and he owes anything, he has a problem with him. Fuck that guy. I don't know. Something about it that I really felt appealing in the way he delivered that with his like voice and everything. It just really sold it well.
I'm complete opposite. I didn't like it. I like what he said. I just didn't like his voice on the hook.
That's okay.
I didn't really think it fit properly. It kind of bothered me.
That's because you're a hater. Moving on, Benny comes in proper. Benny does what Benny has done pretty much the entire way through this project, and spoiler alert, he's going to continue to do through the rest of this project. But he's got cool lines like Dear Mama, I'm a rider, a version of Pac, Icy Rolly, can't tell if the minute hand work on the watch. And I'm like, that's an interesting problem to have. Now, I don't know if you're supposed to put diamonds on your watch or another, but it must be kind of cool to have a watch that's basically so blinged out you really can't see it anymore, which is fine if that's what you're into. I personally am not, but I think it's a cool idea, like just to have something on you like that where it's like so aesthetic and it loses all practical function just for the sake of flossing, and you have it just because you can. Like that's wealth. That's cool.
It's kind of how I feel with like the oversized chains. Like,
I mean, I will personally never do that shit because it's not me. I don't even like real name brands. Like if it's more expensive than Old Navy, I'm not that interested. But that's just me. I want to buy like technology though, because when it comes to technology, I'm all like that, yo. I'm gonna buy HTC Vive because why not? It's more expensive and it's fancy. So I get it. I'm just not like that with jewelry. Fuck off, Holden. All right. I don't know. I really dug the feel of this one. Meyhem, Lauren joins us on this. He does another solid verse, and he sounds really great. Next to Benny, I feel like it's consistent. It comes in. I like that he also has like that same like for the grind, for the team kind of mentality that we've been seeing. Like Benny, I mean, I feel like Benny has like a for the team, like Griselda on every fucking track, and like he's shouting out that this is like he does his thing, but it's always kind of part of something, you know? Like, it's not just this single operation unit. He
Right.
doesn't talk about the specifics because Real G's moving silence and shit. But, like, at the end of the day, you have Meyhem coming in, and he again comes through. I really like the loyalty forever. I'ma never switch sides. Ain't no such thing as an oil-based cut. So if a gram turned into sand, I ain't picking it up. And I kind of, again, dig that. Like, I'm going to stick with my squad because this is who we are, and we're going to ride on through. I mean, I don't really believe in switching sides unless it's absolutely necessary or mandatory. Then, whatever. But you don't unless you have to, right? And then just the idea that, like, he's kind of pointing out, I know that this is real. I'm not going to fuck with your fake shit. If something's fake, I don't even want to touch it. I don't want to be around it because I know what the consequences are. And I just feel like, again, it's the same kind of sentiment. I enjoy listening to this one. I gave this track a 4.3. The beat was a little bit less than my favorite, but overall, it was a good song that fits the vibe of this and still is that consistent grindiness.
I agree that the song fits the vibe to the album. I do think that both verses were done very well. Benny does his Benny thing. Meyhem impressed me. I like his voice. I like his type of cadence that he has. Lyrics fall suit. I mean, he's like you said, he's got that loyalty to the family. He's got that type of hardworking ethic that he wants to kind of grind and be on the same team as the winners in a sense. So that was cool. Like I said earlier, I didn't really like the hook from Westside Gunn. I'm not saying that Westside Gunn is bad. For me, that wasn't a good hook. So that was really it. The song itself kind of lacked a little bit of energy for me. I felt like it was very, not fluff, but just very slower paced. A lot of the music on this album is slow paced. I'm not trying to say like it's that like the Tech 9 stuff I listen to, but this song just felt even slower than some of the other tracks that we've already heard from me. So I was just like, okay, this is cool, but it didn't really have that spark, I guess. So I gave it a 3.7.
Okay, so what we learned is if your BPM is too slow, automatic bad mark from Chris. I'm kidding. Let's move on to the 97 Hove.
Me to settle down. I was reckless at selling brown. She know I'm finally on level ground.
Based on our new Chris Chrome algorithm of grades, we must conclude that the first part got a higher grade than the second part because the first part was slightly quicker than the
Being
second.
a shit now.
Yeah, I am. But yeah, this is a slash song that is not called a slash song, so kudos. You get around my normal annoyance of slash songs because I wasn't seeing it coming. But I love the first part where he's basically comparing himself to 97 Hove, who is at that point leaving the drug game for the rap game. He's established himself and he's made money. He's been good at what he was doing. And then he migrated into something cleaner. And he's now built up his operations. And soon he's going to be worth a billy if he's not already there.
It's cool to see that, though. It's cool to see that he inspires to be kind of like changing lanes in a sense. Like,
well, I mean, it's cool to see, like, as you pointed out, that he likes to give credit to the people who've inspired him. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what he's really doing here. He's saying, look, 97 Hove is something that I look up to. I was born in 84, but I'm like that. So I'm not from that era. I'm younger. I couldn't be that guy. But from my era of people, this is who I'm most like, you know?
Right. And it's cool that he's also, I kind of took it as well, like, when Hove left that game in a sense and went into the rap game, you know, a lot of rappers kind of talk about it being like rap saved my life. And I kind of also kind of got that sentiment from this song, from that bar as well, where from Benny, where he's like, not saying that Benny is like, all the life I had before this is all bad. No, he probably enjoyed everything he was doing. But
well, I mean, I don't know if enjoyed is the right word, but
right.
He was successful at what he was doing. And he's now pivoted that into being successful in this other thing that he's doing. I think that's a fair way to express that. I don't know. I mean, I like when he's like telling me I can be El Chapo, or he's like, I get him chewed. What's funny when every rapper food to you. My bitch asking me to settle down. I was reckless selling brown. She know I'm finally on level ground. I'm trying to change, but my head it sounds. And right there, it's like, we see that he came from that world and that was good, and now he's trying to move into his, you know, wants to maybe start a family or whatever, or settle down, be calmer, do a different life. but he's got that temptation, etc. Because the voice in his head that's telling him he can be El Chapo instead of Kevin Lau. So, you know, choose the drug life for that world and have that fantasy plummet to life thing you're chasing versus, you know, the music thing where it's like he floats into freestyle for Clue. I feel like 97 Hove. It was 96. He pulled up in that 97 Rove, drove it back and forth, then went through 97 Tolls. Real stories about drug money got me extra stoned. And so when he hears stuff like Jay-Z's tales that were based in the reality and stuff, when he comes and hears authenticity in this music, it makes him hyped. It makes him happy. So he's contributing to what he's into. So they really, the music he's making is almost to cater to himself in a sense, because this is the music he vibes to, and what he wants to give to the people is in this sea of maybe fake drug dealers out there all doing it for an image, which is definitely in the skit something that gets explored, where it's like and the truth be told, don't nobody want to fight nobody in this rap game, because 98% of these dudes is colleagues. And this is kind of talking about how everybody wants to be a certain way, but that's facts. Like, as we'll talk about, I'm pretty sure this Joyner Lucas Tory Lanez beef is largely just about the two just networking more than actual beef.
Wow.
We'll get to that. We're going to make a video on that, so we'll really explore that topic. But I just wanted to say, in that kind of way, it doesn't feel like these guys hate each other. It just feels like this was a good business. So it's like they're actually colleagues. They don't want to fight. They're just rapping, you know, like, and just understanding the difference between that.
But then, I don't know, because then I think of like the MGK and Eminem thing, and as much as
it's very fair to say Interscope orchestrated that situation.
Okay.
It's very fair to say that most of these things are good business. They're WWE type things. Not all of them. I'm not saying that even the guys involved at the base level are fake. I'm saying that the strings that control the system and the economics around it are that, you know, strings. Anyway, transitions into verse 2. Or part 2, and it just kind of flows on through. There wasn't anything I felt like that really hit me that I wanted to quote. He's successful. He did what he did. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, but I gave it a 4.25 because I do like the first part more than I like the second part, and it was a bit of a jarring transition, but overall it's a good song. Benny's consistent. It is what it is.
something that I liked on the song was when he goes, I hit the brakes, but wait, the light about to change, realizing what I'm driving and how my life about to change. And I like that kind of, I like how he kind of expresses, or at least I interpret it as, he kind of like woke up from the daydream and realized he's in a fancy car, we'll say, and then accepting everything that's maybe have been happening, and like while he's living in that fast lane, it's kind of like that moment of realization that changes need to be made. Maybe it's time to get out of the same ways I've been doing. Maybe, you know, I've been running the same type of like lucky horseshoe for a long time that maybe it might run out or something. I should look at other avenues. And that was something that was really cool. The beat's good. Beat's great. It has more of that energy type of spark that I was looking for, kind of back from the first couple of songs on the album. So I was like, cool. I enjoy this. For me, I left it at a 4.
All right, cool. Let's talk about a banger. Joe Pesci, 38.
Want the scabs and stitch your shit that come with it. And if you ask me this backwards, nigga,
So yeah, this was definitely the first one I heard on the project before it came out. But yo, this is a 5 on 5. That beat is really amazing. Like, it's just so perfectly composed, and it's got like this super great hook to it, and it blends seamlessly with this like big verse he does. And it's got a little intro, you know, Griselda by Fashion Rebels, you know, tagging you with his brand. Yeah, this how shit's supposed to sound. This how our shit sound. Y'all got a lot of catching up to do. And it's like you get the sense that this is what hip-hop is supposed to be, this old school kind of feel. He's coming in and he's reviving that, and they got to catch up. If they want to be competing in the big leagues, you got to make that authentic shit. And then he goes on and he proceeds to, you know, spit a bunch of real lines. I met the plug when I was broke. Not to brag, I did it. I broke a 9 off and half, got in traffic with it. That from my day one fans been listening, who know these rappers not better or as consistent. And I really like that part because when you hear something like that and it's the first track you hear, you're like, okay, whatever, everybody says shit like that.
Right.
This far into the project, you're like, he is motherfucking consistent. Like, I bet you go listen to his stuff and it's going to be rhymes. I don't know if all his old projects are this consistent, this polished, this wise, no fucking wasted bars, no fake bars either. What I mean by that is nothing that's, again, allegorical or just ridiculously over the top storytelling.
But is
It's
that
all
like...
grounded in his reality. And that's something I really, really appreciate. So it creates a consistency. Because it's not fairy tales. It's not like on track 1, I'm meeting some hoes in Paris, and then I'm flying to Venice for new hoes, and hoes everywhere. But then on track 2, Shawty, you the one for me. And then on track 3, it's not that. This is him on every song. Love him or hate him, you're just getting him. And I really like him more than I don't. So that's really awesome. But it's also got this grim reality type shit, It's rumors back here saying what you gonna do to who. Been gone for 2 weeks, been 2 more funerals. They pulled up dumping out of a 2-door Subaru. It's all the same. This is what we call a game. When you move, it pull back like a ball and chain. So it's like, as much as things are going in a certain way for him, this is still that same reality, that same everything. And I don't know, man. This sounds a 5. It's just, I think it's the most standout track on this album. And I think it is a really remarkable, this should get him to the next level, to my opinion. This is a fucking excellent track. It's up there in my favorite songs this year.
Nice. One line that really stuck with me that was cool was "You just another rapper trying to have the image," and I like how he kind of just brought that up in context. I like how he kind of made the discussion happen of the actual image of a gangster and the actual the difference between being able to represent the actual lifestyle and then again fronting up and pretending like you are part of this. It was cool, and I think that it also is, in a way, he's kind of intimidating other people with that line, calling them fakers and stuff, but in a way where it's you're branding yourself as fake.
Yeah.
Not so much you're fake, but what you choose to pretend to be is still fake more than your fakeness.
I think he's still calling them fake, but I do think you're still right with your more elaborate way of saying it. It was very good.
I left the song with a 4. I think it was a really good track. Again, it's just my taste.
All right, let's talk about who are you. Let us know in the comments. Who are you? No, I'm kidding. Whatever.
Ever since she got that new ass that she been dragging, fam, she done been the last air.
I have been criticized for grading too high, and it's hard to tell what songs are actually great. So I decided I'm just going to start saying when songs are a standout. Just like Joe Pesci 38, this is a standout fucking track on this album. And a lot of that may be attributed to this excellent side of Royce da 5'9". And I say that because I've heard a lot of people comment how Royce da 5'9" is at his worst when he's rapping with Eminem. People can't stand what he does with Eminem, and the stuff he does on the other side of his more pure whatever is better. And I never really saw that other side of Royce before, but I feel like this is just completely different than what you would have expected on any song with Eminem. It's grimier and more wordplay driven. To give you an example of what I mean, there's one particular fucking line: "Sunflower seeds, the only time you probably see shells fly." That's a fucking great line, because when you eat sunflower seeds, you fucking spit out the shells and shit. And so that is also calling this other person kind of fake, because
shells as in gun shells,
and it's just that kind of layered double entendre type lyrics and poetry that Royce is bringing is truly significant. It makes me want to go review his older stuff. So YouTube, do that. I want you to cover this album thing and tell me what Royce album is your favorite one.
If you don't mind, it's interesting because you just kind of got me stumped on what you said about the whole Royce and Eminem. Royce doesn't rap as good as that, as good as he is when he's around Eminem. And I feel like when you work with rappers,
to be clear, I said that's what the internet said.
Right. I'm not trying to say that's your words. I feel like when you work or when you collab with a rapper, if that person has a certain feel to their track, you might want to follow that. So if Eminem's using wordplay and super tricky stuff on an intense beat,
I don't think that's it, because wordplay is what I literally just described. I just described wordplay, and Royce is doing it. I think that it's more when you're with Eminem, you do a certain way, and when Royce can be free to do what he wants, he comes off more authentic sounding. Like, we're not talking about banging two porn stars here. He's making jokes about how the ass gets long, so it's a pun, and it just turns into it. I feel like he's so much more human and authentic sounding, and whereas with Eminem, you're with Eminem, so now you're playing in the big leagues and you're a superhero. I don't know. That would be the big difference I see. I feel like I want to hang out with Royce in a way I never did before, you know? And Benny follows suit in the same kind of way. Great freaking verse from him. I spent my pen stay bleeding. That's the pain from them days. So he's using his platform to share thoughts and experiences from his past life, you know? As them days I spent sitting next to moms in them NA meetings knowing she's gonna smoke again. First of the month we was rolling, by the time the fourth came we was broke again. You know what? That's something that I've seen play out. I mean, if you ever work at a convenience store on the first of the month, you will see how every poor person in the neighborhood shows out to buy lottery tickets and whatever. So whether it's drugs or whatever vice it is, man, it's some real shit, you know? I just feel like it flows through. Melanie, because it's got the accent aigu. Rutherford, be claiming they bleed loyalty, be saying they come from royalty, but who are you? Who are you? And I love that line because people do it all fucking time. I'm the king of this. I'm the best of this. I know this. I'm gonna do this. And I think the best example might be Trinidad James's All Gold Everything being like his first fucking single.
Right.
And while it may have been all true, how he got there, whatever. It was just more like, who are you? You can't be the best at rapping. You might be the richest, but you can't, you know, like you just came out of nowhere. And so many guys come in as king, and it's like, look, you gotta be there for a minute and earn your stripes and shit before you are somebody. I don't know. I understand how many people can feel like they are bigger than they are due to the fact that most of us probably surround ourselves with people who make us feel good. So our fans and our followers and things like that. But the reality of things, there's only a few kings out there, and I don't know that every guy out there saying they're the best rapper really is, because we hear everybody talk about how they're the best, but then you got guys like Benny and Royce who are showing how they're great rappers by using great wordplay and not claiming to be the best, and that's something I fucking love and appreciate. This song's a 5. It's a fucking amazing track. It has as much potential as Joe Pesci 38 to pop. I fucking love it.
One of the lines that Benny says is, they want me in a jam, like I don't know no damn better. Crammed in a 3-man cell, skimming through fan letters, like what the fuck am I doing here in the first place? When all the weed burnt out, I'm in my worst shape. And it's like, it's cool to see the other side of like this like gangster, hard, badass motherfucker at a time of such, I want to say disparity. I want to say like loss in a little bit. And he's kind of sitting there reflecting like
on the consequences of his actions, like how he got there. Like, yeah,
it also shows some like humanity in him instead of like this kingpin type boss character I get a lot.
Well, I feel like it shows wisdom. I feel like it's like a guy who gets to this situation and seeing actions had consequences, but now he has responsibilities. These people who look up to him and are supporting him, and it's like, yo, I could either be here or I could be there. That's what I took from that. Like, it was really wise sounding to me. But you're right, it's humanity.
I did enjoy the song. I had to listen to Royce's verse a little bit, a couple more times just to kind of really get into it. At first, I found it to be a little bit off-putting. I was just like, this is different. But then, like, I really kind of got past that and really enjoyed how he's kind of adapted to what I would say is Benny's flow a little bit, like this type of conversational explanation, showing the other side. Like he wasn't again like showing the other side in terms of flossing or flexing or whatever. He was like,
I mean, I think they just kind of came at it from their own perspectives, but were lyrically kind of on the same page. Okay. I mean, I don't know about other sides. What other side?
No, I don't mean like other sides, like a different thing. I'm just trying to say like it was cool to see Royce have a different sense from what I'm originally used to him doing.
So the whole part about not working with Eminem, everything we were just talking about earlier. Anyway, I love how Rick James and a girl appear to be the picture. I don't know if it is, but I like the cover art for this. And if you want to tell me if that is what it is, that would be cool. If it's a significant one, I would love to know. I don't know. This is great. 5 on 5. What did you give it?
Wait, What? What do you?
The cover art for this single is Rick James and a girl.
I thought that was for the song Rick.
Oh, my bad. I actually fucked up. We were going to talk about that next one.
On that note, I also
snap.
gave the song a 4.2 just to give my grade as well.
Shit.
And the next track is 51 featuring Westside Gunn.
I'm on my Odell shit. I'm trying to see how many cops I can outrun.
This one is slower. It's got a nice calmer pace to it. Benny the Butcher, I just like how he starts off. Smoking grapes and went to war with a poker face loaded AK to drop them. We unload your safe. I used to pitch on my corner late, fifth on the bulging waist, way back in the flip Motorola days. I don't know, it just kind of sounds like some authentic shit. Because flip Motorola would be like 10 years after pagers, you know? Like, you get disposable phones and shit. So it just kind of still feels as gritty and grimy as like everything else we've covered on the album.
Especially in today when we all have smartphones and everything, it kind of brings you back to a certain type of mentality and era.
Yeah, and then he flows on and he's just, I would say that he keeps on with the same consistency. I really liked the line, I'm nasty, my flow dirtier than Flint water, and being broke was a big problem, so I whipped quarters. You know, just I kind of like that. First of all, Flint water is kind of dirty and had a lot of problems, and if you still don't know about that, you should look into it. But it's a great line for the kind of content he's producing. Like, he's trying to be grimy, he's trying to be like this because that's the world that he comes from, and that's the reality he's preaching. So it's not so much trying to be; it's just that's what his flow comes off like. Westside Gunn comes in at the end of the track after that little chorus with the doot. And he's even slower, but I liked it. It was like the drama and flair and the way he delivers his lines kind of compensates in a way where it's interesting to see how he's going to say these words. And I like that he had that ability. I can't say that any of the lines really popped out to me as something cool, but I did really enjoy the verse. I enjoyed the overall flow of this track. I think it was cool. I give it a 4.5. I really dug it.
Nice. I liked Benny, what he did. It was pretty much what Benny does. It was pretty cool. But I do like what Westside Gunn did on his verse more than that hook he did on that other track. It was interesting. It was his voice didn't the way his voice kind of flowed with the track in terms of a verse was different to me compared to how he did it on the hook for that song. So it was cool.
Right.
I enjoyed this song. I found it to be a kind of like friendly type track. Like they're both kind of just chilling together, expressing how they feel about certain things. So that was really cool. There, that gangster-esque feel, that like nonchalant gangster-esque feel still was carried through the song. I liked it. I gave it a 4 out of 5.
All right, so the next song has this awesome cover art that's featuring Rick James and a girl. And whoops, let's talk about Rick.
I slept in the cell 8 by 11. It's not one thing about my name.
I think my favorite lyric in this song is, I heard your shit, ghost rate, I take the passion out of it. And I think that's the best way to describe my overall feelings about ghostwriters. I don't have a problem with it, but it really does take the passion out of it to know that you spit in someone else's words. I thought that Benny made an excellent point there. Because it doesn't mean that it's a worse song, per se, but knowing that it's somebody else's words, it's just, you can deliver it passionately, but fundamentally, you're still performing. It's like Frank Sinatra was a great performer, but most of his shit, as I understand it, was just other people's words. So he was a great performer. But passion comes from spitting your truth and all of that shit. And so I feel like we get that from Benny throughout this track as he's rolling through again, painting the picture and the landscape of his mind, I like the lines like, we got sports, entertainment, and stretching. I'm just working on my aim with this weapon. What you trying to cop, you can buy it here. We got a spot so the dope fiends can try it here. He's just got his situation. He's trying to improve, get better. He's set up. He's connected. It's the same kind of stuff we've encountered already on this project, but equally as consistent. And I don't have a lot more to add without just kind of repeating myself. So fundamentally, I'm going to give this a 4.25 over the beat because it wasn't my favorite beat, but Benny delivered as consistently as he has the whole project.
I like when Benny says, my reputation precedes me. I own them rumors. And I like how he's like taking that ownership and he sticks to what he's implemented and he's created so far. And that was really cool. The song itself is actually pretty good. The beat's fine as well. That was really the only line that stood up to me. Oh, the fact that he was, according to himself, he was a felon at the age of 18. I was like, shit, like, just to think, like, you've only really been alive for 18 years and you're already considered to be a felon and, like, all the criminal activity, it just really kind of makes you think, like,
But then
what...
it just also means your life's over from any conventional way. You can't get jobs. You can't have the normal avenues that people just expect you to figure out because
Right.
you have to check that box on the application form.
Absolutely. For me, it also kind of just made me sit back and think, like, your younger years and, like, your teenage years must have been, like, extremely kind of fucked up a little bit, to like have that title at 18. So it's just really kind of reiterating that struggle that he's been through, and it really kind of just gives you that perspective. Like, some of us may have it a little bit luckier than others, and some of us have to do certain shit, you know. Overall, I gave the song a 4 on 5.
So let's talk about a street in Buffalo, New York called Langfield.
Don't know from which side. Wait, take a minute. Imagine that when your whole
All right. So this one just kind of, again, feels like he's trying to be real, trying to be honest, more at a stream of consciousness, but with almost a sense of frustration of how, at the end of the day, maybe people don't take him as seriously or people can't hear it. But, like, kind of like we were saying before, like how I gave you the blueprint on how you can be successful, but y'all instead didn't do it, and now you're kind of goofy. You know, like, yo, sometimes feel like y'all deaf. I put my life in these songs and still feel y'all slept. Every word I spoke in the booth, y'all know it's the truth. It's Benny. I'm firm as a soldier, hoops. Build my pain over these loops. I know you resting. You left me, bro. Your mom, Dukes especially hurt, etc. And you just get the sense that it's like he's pouring himself out. He's trying to help almost. He's trying to create something. And, like, if everybody really wants authentic, if everybody really wants to be a certain way, how is it that he's not gaining it? You know, maybe because people aren't listening or seeing it, you know?
I have a theory, and this is kind of what I took away from the song, that I appreciate his honesty and his, like, kind of his questions of, like, why aren't people really taking me seriously and stuff like that. And at first glance, I was like, maybe I was a little bit harsh because I was kind of like, well, throughout the entire album, it's been a very consistent, like, message of, like, drug dealing and all about their streets, which totally respect. But I think that, in a way, like, my own personal opinion is, I kind of want something else from. I want maybe some other type of messages within your album. Maybe I want some other type of thing that doesn't have to revolve around drug dealing. Hold on, but then I think now I'm thinking maybe nobody's really listening to you because it's been overly used. Like everyone's talking about drug dealing, everyone's talking about gun slaying, everyone's doing that.
I don't think that's really it, right? That's kind of
wait, but it's not real.
No, I mean,
like,
my point, like, I think, first of all, the idea that somebody's content has to deviate because whatever, that's just you as a person, not putting on the right lens for the album, in my opinion. That's how I look at it. Like, first of all, most albums don't really deviate that much in content because people have their thing and that's what they're going about. Second off, I think that what makes it harder is that when you sell reality and you're not selling a fantasy, people will always gravitate towards the fantasy because the fantasy looks sexier and whatever. Benny's not talking about fucking my bitch and doing everything everyone else is. He's talking some real shit mixed in. And that isn't going to be appealing because it'll go over the heads of a lot of people. Something I just saw is that the cover is his brother Machine Gun Black, who is the artwork of the album. So that's something I just learned on the internet. And apparently this song is a tribute to him. So I don't know. I didn't know that. Genius just told me that. But now we know who the cover is. So for those of you who may have been mad at us for our ignorance, now we know. To be fair, when the guy's like at this level where Benny's at in the game, it isn't the simplest thing to find information on them because not that many people have gone and created his Wikipedia page, haven't done all of these things.
Right.
So it's like, it might be like, go Google it, but you go Google it and it's like 5 pages of this album coming out and almost nothing else is actually available for him. Just to give you a context of I know how sometimes we get shit wrong. Either way, I dig this track. I think he kind of flows on through. I didn't realize it was a story, but now that I'm going through it, you know, like it kind of makes more sense. So it's kind of describing a particular person's environment, you know. Was an 80s baby, mama raised me, she was slanging crack, foggy memories of I'm thinking, let me take you back. Remember clear as day when I caught a shave of crack, had a boyfriend from Detroit, they took trips, made it back. It's kind of, again, describing this like story of how this all may have happened, or maybe it's not specifically about this person, but it still has this tone when I think about it of this is how the tragic circumstances came to be, right? And I like that he's able to do that, because if your life is this, and in a sense you're kind of creating a certain level of activism with your music, you're creating a leadership type, like this is the direction I think music should go. If you're going to rap about drugs, do it like this. If you're going to rap about anything, be authentic with it, you know? I think that's just kind of where we're at. And I don't know, I dig it. I really like what he's doing with the track. I felt it was really good. It was a 4.5.
I gave the track a 4.
All right, so there's one left on his project. It's all 70.
100 pages of charges. I'm riding with my 4th felony.
I love that beat with those guitars kind of strung out, kind of creating this cooler, triumphant almost sound. Like it's the last song on the album, and it comes off pretty fucking triumphant. That's on with the beat, the overall flow. It really appealed to me. This was it stood out as something a little bit different, you know, in terms of the music. So if there was one criticism, it's not. I don't think a rapper should necessarily have to change up what they rap about. But maybe sometimes a bit of a variation on the beats is nice. But at the same time, I feel kind of stupid saying that, because, like, this is his project. This is the kind of music he wants to make, you know? And not any two songs were exactly the same or similar enough to feel repetitive to me. This was the vibe he was writing. Anyway, I like this song. It comes on through in the same overall flow of what we've been talking about. I feel like Benny, again, did it. Like, all 14 songs on this album, he probably consistently dropped an equal quality of rhyming. I do like when he's like shoeboxes to bank deposits. I'm thankful, honest, because I'm to my city what probably Dre is to Compton. And I like that. Like, he's trying to establish that he has his place again. Like, we know that he is loyal to where he's from, and he wants to create that parallel of greatness for himself that I appreciate, you know?
I respect the fact that he has that loyalty to his city, though. Like, when you become that level of like respected in your city, I wouldn't know what it feels like, but like I can imagine that it really does hold some weight to you a little bit as who you are. Like you speak. I feel like if you speak for that city now, if in that sense.
Right.
So I feel like that's just cool. Like I think that's really cool that he feels like that in terms of being compared to like what Dre is to Compton.
Okay. And then it flows in, you know, to a chorus where you have Westside Gunn making gun sounds. And, you know, I kind of like he's putting on, I got 50 in the drum, 20 in the cig, and if I'm lucky, you catching all 70 of these bullets. And that's kind of the premise. So he's coming in, he's going hard. If he's lucky, he's going to get exactly what he wants out of this. And then Conway, I think it's the first we've seen him on the project, shows up. And actually sounds really fucking great, too. It makes me want to go bump his stuff. I mean, flows on through. I can't say at this point, I mean, we're late in the review. None of these lines really came out like super substantial in terms of provoking me to have a whole bunch of shit to say about it. But he's an extremely talented guy in the same vein of what he's doing. You know, I got shot in my top, but it ain't stopped the passion, which is an interesting thought that he got clipped, you know. And I believe that it gets mentioned earlier on the album that Benny was kind of with him when that happened, and kind of showing the tightness of their bond and how far back they go. But either way, I got shot, pop at Keep Dropping Classics, 800 for my, Versace glasses, teaching my youngers how to break up the bricks, call it karate classes. It's all clever, it's all consistent, and, you know, they're just trying to make sure that they give back to their community in their own way. Either way, I guess went a 4.5, and I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was a great closeout to this project.
I enjoyed the track. I enjoyed the hypeness to it. How they kind of had this like symphony type energy through it, and the last song kind of like wrapping up the album. I liked it. I gave it. For me, it landed at a 4.
All right, cool. So I guess that's the end of this album that we were talking about. I think it's actually a mixtape. Whatever. I gave the project a 4.75 on 5. I really liked it. I think it's something where it's almost like a niche. If you're really into that passionate person who's putting his heart and soul into the music, and you're also into drug dealer music, and you're also into like kind of the streets vibe, but like with a purist sense of good rhyming, good lyrics, every line backing substance, but also every line coming off truthful. This is an excellent project for you. I would highly recommend it. If you're one of those people that doesn't like that, you might not agree with my grading, but I think he really delivers in the domain he's trying to play in. And it's, again, kind of that callback to the golden era. Let's bring it back to the pure focus, but instead of just bitching about other people, how they're not doing whatever, he calls out that he knows that there are fake people out there, and most of these guys is fake, and then through his rhyming proves the difference between him and them. And I think that's truly delivered eloquently, and I really like this album, all things considered.
Nice. The album landed at a 3.9 for me. I enjoy the flows, the lyrics, the like just the energy behind it. But I don't think that this is something that goes for me. This isn't something I would actually go back to listen to. I do appreciate the craft behind it. I do appreciate everything B.E.N.N.Y can do. But I just have other tastes in music.
That's totally fine. So thank y'all for watching, everybody. We totally appreciate you being here. Let us know in the comments what you thought, any feelings that you have on it, etc. Special thanks to the patrons, Ismail Gadamsi, Chris Prado, Super Old School, 1994, and Linda Williams. If you like what we do and you want to see us get to that next level, there's lots of expensive shit that comes in our future, and you can join the request pool over there where you get to pick the albums we have to review. So once a month it comes from Patreon, and then when you sign up to that, you get to choose an album we have to do no matter what right away, like the next month or whatever. That's what right away means. Otherwise, access to content early when we can, and just help us out. If you're not into that, you can hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, leave that comment like we talked about before, and show love like that, or hit that dislike button. And I highly recommend you don't turn on the bell if you don't like notifications to your phone, because it's fucking annoying, and I'm going to upload a lot of content. So we hope you have a great week. Reach out to us on the Twitters and shit. All that stuff's below. Whatever. Peace and love and all that.